They say revenge is a dish best served cold. Well, honey, let me tell you about the day I served my cheating husband and his 3 side pieces the coldest meal of their lives. My name is Victoria, and today I'm going to tell you how I turned from a betrayed wife into a chess master, moving all the right pieces to deliver the most satisfying checkmate of my life. What happens when a wealthy, powerful woman discovers her husband's dirty secrets? What happens when she decides she's had enough of being disrespected in her own empire? And what happens when fate gives her the perfect opportunity for revenge? Stay with me, because this story has more twists than a pretzel factory, and I guarantee you've never heard a revenge tale quite like this one. But before we dive into this delicious drama, if you love stories of justice, empowerment, and watching cheaters get exactly what they deserve, hit that subscribe button right now. Trust me, you're going to want to be here for every twist and turn of what I call the Queen's Gambit. Let me paint you a picture of who I was before everything changed. My name is Victoria Sterling, and at 62 years old, I had built what most people would call the perfect life. I wasn't just wealthy, I was empire wealthy. The kind of money that comes from 35 years of blood, sweat, and brilliant business decisions. My husband Marcus and I, we built Sterling Enterprises from the ground up. Started in a cramped apartment with nothing but a laptop and a dream. Real estate, investments, tech startups, you name it, we conquered it. By the time this story takes place, we were worth more than most small countries' GDP. But here's the thing about building an empire alongside someone. Sometimes you're so focused on conquering the world that you forget to protect your own castle. Marcus Sterling. 6'2" of charisma wrapped in designer suits. The kind of man who could sell ice to penguins and make them thank him for the privilege. Handsome? Absolutely. Successful? Without question. Faithful? Well, that's where our story gets interesting. You see, I thought we were partners in every sense of the word. I thought the late nights we spent building our business meant something. I thought the way he'd look at me across boardroom tables, the way he'd squeeze my hand during big deals, the way he'd call me his queen, I thought it was real. I was fiercely independent, always had been. My mama raised me to never depend on a man for anything, and I didn't. I could run that business with my eyes closed, make million-dollar decisions before breakfast, and negotiate deals that would make Wall Street executives weep with envy. But there was one thing I couldn't negotiate, one deal I couldn't close, one problem my money and power couldn't solve. My husband's wandering eye and lying tongue. For years, I had suspicions. Little things. Text messages turned face down. Business trips that seemed to require an awful lot of new cologne. Credit card charges at jewelry stores when my birthday was 6 months away. But Marcus was smooth, honey. Smoother than aged whiskey. He always had an explanation, always had a reason, always made me feel like I was being paranoid. Victoria, baby, you know you're my queen. These young girls mean nothing. It's just business networking, you know how it is. But queens don't just rule, they strategize. And I was about to play the greatest strategic game of my life. Because on a seemingly ordinary Tuesday morning in March, while I was doing what I always did, running our empire while Marcus slept off another business dinner, I stumbled across something that would change everything. Something that would transform Victoria Sterling from a neglected wife into a vengeful chess master. But we'll get to that discovery in just a moment. Picture this. It's 6 a.m. on a Tuesday. I'm in my home office, and when I say home office, I mean a space that would make Fortune 500 CEOs jealous. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking our private lake, marble desk that cost more than most people's cars, and technology that could probably run NASA. I was reviewing contracts for our latest acquisition when Marcus's laptop chimed with an email notification. Now, we shared everything business-wise. Same accounts, same passwords, same access to everything Sterling Enterprises. So I casually clicked over to check what looked like an important message. What I found wasn't business. The email was from someone named Candy_Sweet23. And honey, The subject line was not something you'd find in any boardroom. Last night was incredible, Daddy. Can't wait for our weekend getaway. My blood ran cold, but my fingers kept clicking. Because Victoria Sterling didn't get to where she was by running away from uncomfortable truths. Email after email. 3 different women. 3 different email accounts that my husband of 35 years had been using to conduct his extracurricular activities. Candy, 19 years old, college student, apparently had a taste for older men with deep pockets. The emails between them read like a sugar daddy manual. Daddy, I need money for tuition. Marcus, baby, buy me that necklace we saw. Messages that would make your grandmother clutch her pearls. Then there was Simone, 28, aspiring model, had been promised a career boost and a luxury apartment. Her emails were more, let's say, artistic. Pictures I won't describe because this is a family-friendly channel, but let's just say she wasn't sending him her portfolio headshots. And Trinity, 35, the sophisticated one. Divorced with 2 kids, working as a real estate agent in our company. This one hurt the most because I knew her. I had shaken this woman's hand at company parties. I had asked about her children. And the whole time, she was planning to steal my husband. But the emails that broke something inside me weren't the seductive ones or the money-begging ones. They were the ones where Marcus talked about me. Don't worry about Victoria. She's so focused on business, she doesn't even notice when I'm gone. My wife? She's more like a business partner now. No passion, no fire. Not like you, baby. Victoria's getting old and boring. She spends more time with spreadsheets than with me. 35 years. 35 years of building dreams together, of sacrificing my own desires for our shared vision, of being the strong woman behind an even stronger empire. And this is how he saw me? As old and boring? I sat there for 3 hours, reading every email, looking at every photo, absorbing every detail of my husband's betrayal. And you know what the worst part was? It wasn't even the cheating. It was the disrespect. The casual way he dismissed me, like I was just furniture in his life. But Victoria Sterling didn't become a multimillionaire by crumbling under pressure. I closed that laptop, walked upstairs to where my cheating husband was still sleeping off his business dinner, and I made a decision that would change everything. I was going to confront him. I was going to demand answers. I was going to reclaim my dignity and my marriage, or I was going to end this charade once and for all. But fate, honey, fate had other plans for Marcus Sterling. Because just as I opened my mouth to destroy his world with the truth, something happened that no one, not him, not me, not those 3 homewreckers, could have predicted. Something that would give me the perfect opportunity for the most beautiful, twisted, satisfying revenge any woman has ever orchestrated. I stormed into our master bedroom, and when I say master bedroom, I mean a space larger than most people's entire homes. Marcus was sprawled across our California king bed like he owned the world, which, in his mind, he probably did. Marcus, I said, my voice sharp enough to cut glass. We need to talk. Now. He cracked one eye open, that charming smile already forming on his lips. Even caught red-handed, this man thought he could charm his way out of anything. Morning, beautiful. Come back to bed. I missed you last night. Oh, I bet he did. While he was missing me, he was probably texting Candy about her tuition or planning Simone's next photo shoot. I said we need to talk, Marcus. About your emails. About your girlfriends. About the fact that you've been living a double life for God knows how long. And that's when it happened. Marcus sat up quickly, too quickly. His face went from charming to confused to scared. And then, honey, then his eyes rolled back in his head and he collapsed. Not a gentle swoon like in the movies. A full-body collapse, convulsions, the works. My cheating, lying, disrespectful husband was having some kind of medical emergency right in front of me. Now, I want you to imagine this moment. You've just discovered your husband's betrayal. You're ready for the confrontation of a lifetime. You're prepared to either save your marriage or end it with dignity. And then the man literally falls over. What do you do? Well, I did what any woman married for 35 years would do. I called 911, performed CPR until the paramedics arrived, and rode with him to the hospital while texting his assistant to clear his schedule. Because that's who Victoria Sterling was. Even when my world was crumbling, even when my heart was broken, I handled business. The doctors said it was a massive stress-induced cardiac event. Not quite a heart attack, but close enough to put him in the ICU for a week and bedridden for months. Months, honey. Months of recovery time where my strong, independent, empire-building husband would be as helpless as a newborn baby. You know what's funny? As I sat in that hospital waiting room, watching doctors come and go with updates about his condition, I had a moment of clarity. This man, who had disrespected me, betrayed me, and dismissed me as old and boring, was now completely dependent on me. His business empire? I was the only one who could run it. His medical decisions? I had power of attorney. His daily care? That was going to fall to me too. And his 3 little girlfriends? Well, funny thing about sugar babies and mistresses, they're not really interested in changing diapers and monitoring medication schedules. But I wasn't thinking about revenge yet. Not consciously, anyway. I was just thinking about survival, about keeping our empire running while nursing my husband back to health. I was thinking about being the dutiful wife, the way I'd been trained to be. I had no idea that fate was setting up the perfect chessboard for me. I had no idea that Marcus's recovery period would give me everything I needed to orchestrate the most satisfying payback in the history of cheating husbands. But first, I had to get him home. I had to become his caregiver. I had to smile and be supportive while knowing exactly what kind of man I was nursing back to health. And honey, let me tell you, living with a secret that big, caring for someone who broke your heart that completely, it changes you. It hardens something inside you and sharpens something else. By the time Marcus Sterling came home from the hospital, Victoria Sterling was no longer just a betrayed wife. I was becoming something much more dangerous. I was becoming a woman with a plan. Bringing Marcus home was like importing a tornado into my peaceful mansion. Suddenly, my perfectly organized, pristine home became a medical facility. Hospital bed in our master bedroom, oxygen tanks, medication schedules, nurses coming and going. But the nurses were only there for 8 hours a day. The other 16 hours? That was all me. I want you to picture this. Victoria Sterling, woman who commanded boardrooms and closed million-dollar deals, now measuring out heart medication and helping a grown man to the bathroom. And at first, I did it with grace, with dignity, because that's what wives do, right? In sickness and in health, for better or worse. I held on to those vows like a lifeline, thinking maybe this crisis would bring us closer together. Maybe nearly losing him would make me forget about Candy and Simone and Trinity. I was a fool. The first few weeks, Marcus was weak, grateful, almost sweet. He'd hold my hand and whisper, "Thank you," when I brought him his meals. He'd tell me I was his angel, his savior, his queen. But as he got stronger, as the fear of death faded, the real Marcus Sterling came back. And honey, he came back worse than before. It started with little comments. "Victoria, this soup is too salty." "Victoria, you're walking too loudly, I'm trying to rest." "Victoria, the nurses do it better than you do." Then it escalated. "You know, before the heart attack, I was thinking we needed to talk about your attitude. You've become so controlling, so cold. Maybe that's why." And he'd trail off, but I knew what he meant. This man, lying in a bed that I paid for, in a house that I helped build, being fed food that I prepared, had the audacity to suggest that his cheating was somehow my fault. But the moment that changed everything, the moment that transformed me from dutiful wife to vengeful queen, happened on a Wednesday afternoon in May. I was helping Marcus to the bathroom, and yes, honey, it was as undignified as it sounds. He was still weak, still needed assistance with basic functions. As I was helping him back to bed, he slipped, and I caught him. For a moment, We were face to face, closer than we'd been in months. I thought, maybe this is it. Maybe this is when we reconnect, when he realizes what I've sacrificed, when he apologizes for everything. Instead, Marcus looked me dead in the eye and said, "You know, Victoria, you've really let yourself go during all this. Stress doesn't look good on you. Maybe you should consider a spa day or something. Fix yourself up." Fix myself up. This man, who I had been bathing, feeding, and caring for like an infant, was critiquing my appearance. This man, who had been cheating on me with women young enough to be his daughters, was telling me I needed to fix myself up. I helped him back into bed, tucked him in like a child, and walked calmly out of the room. I went to my office, closed the door, and sat in my chair for exactly 10 minutes. And in those 10 minutes, Victoria Sterling, the dutiful wife, died. What emerged was something much more powerful, much more dangerous. I walked back into that bedroom, opened the drawer where we kept his adult diapers. Yes, honey, adult diapers. Because my big, strong husband couldn't control his bodily functions anymore, and I held them up. "Here, Marcus," I said, my voice calm as still water. "Since you're so concerned about people fixing themselves up, maybe you should worry about fixing your own situation first." The look on his face, honey. The absolute shock. For the first time in 35 years, Marcus Sterling was speechless. For the first time in our entire marriage, he realized that his queen might just be more powerful than her king. But that was just the beginning. Because as I stood there, looking at my helpless, humbled husband, holding symbols of his vulnerability, a plan began to form in my mind. A beautiful, twisted, absolutely perfect plan. You see, Marcus wasn't the only one who knew how to keep secrets. He wasn't the only one who could play games. And he certainly wasn't the only one who could manipulate people to get what they wanted. I had his passwords. I had his email accounts. I had his phone. And most importantly, I had 3 women who were about to learn what happens when you mess with Victoria Sterling's life. The Queen's Gambit was about to begin. That night, after Marcus fell asleep with his medication, I sat in my office with his laptop open in front of me. Those same email accounts that had broken my heart were now going to be the instruments of my revenge. But this wasn't going to be some simple gotcha moment. Oh no, honey. Victoria Sterling didn't do anything simple. If I was going to destroy these women's fantasies about my husband, I was going to do it with style, precision, and maximum impact. I spent hours studying those emails, learning their patterns, their weaknesses, their deepest desires. Candy wanted money and security. Simone wanted fame and luxury. Trinity wanted power and respect. I was about to give them exactly what they thought they wanted, and then some. The plan was beautiful in its simplicity. I would become Marcus. I would use his email, his voice, his promises to lure all 3 women to our mansion on the same day, at the same time, for what they would think was the surprise of their lives. You see, Marcus had been promising each of them something special. Candy was expecting him to pay for her entire senior year at college. Simone thought he was going to introduce her to a modeling agency. Trinity believed he was finally going to leave me and make her the new Mrs. Sterling. They were all about to get their wishes granted, just not in the way they expected. First, I contacted Candy. I used Marcus's usual tone, paternal, generous, just a little bit sleazy. "My sweet girl, Daddy has a surprise for you. Something that will secure your entire future. Come to the mansion this Saturday at 2 p.m. Dress beautifully. We're going to be taking pictures for your modeling portfolio, and I have some very important people coming to meet you. This is your big break, baby." For Simone, I played up the modeling angle. "Beautiful, I've arranged something incredible. A private photo shoot at my estate with a famous photographer, plus a meeting with 3 different modeling agencies. Saturday at 2 p.m. This is what we've been working toward. Don't disappoint me." And for Trinity? Well, Trinity required a more sophisticated approach. "My queen, it's time. I'm ready to make the changes we've discussed. Come to the house Saturday at 2 p.m. Victoria will be away, and we can finally have the conversation that will change our lives forever. Bring an overnight bag. After 35 years, I'm ready to choose happiness over convenience. 3 women, 3 different promises, 1 location, 1 time. But that was just the setup. The real genius was in the details. I arranged for our regular household staff to have the weekend off. I wanted privacy for what was about to unfold. I moved Marcus's bedroom to the ground floor, ostensibly for his convenience, but really so he would have a front-row seat to the show. I prepared the mansion like a movie set. Champagne chilling, catered food, even hired a fake photographer. Actually, my nephew James, who owed me a favor and didn't ask too many questions. But the piece de resistance, the detail that made me clap my hands with joy, was the security system. You see, our mansion had cameras in every room, for insurance purposes, of course. And those cameras recorded everything. I was going to have documentation of every moment of what was about to happen. Saturday morning arrived. Marcus was having a good day, relatively speaking. Strong enough to be wheeled around, alert enough to appreciate what was about to unfold, but still dependent enough that he couldn't stop it. Victoria, he said as I was getting dressed, and honey, I was dressed to kill. My best black dress, the diamond necklace he'd bought me for our 30th anniversary, makeup and hair done like I was going to a royal gala. You look beautiful today. What's the occasion? Oh, just a little gathering, darling. Some people are coming over to discuss business. You remember how much you love mixing business with pleasure, don't you? At 1:45 p.m., I positioned Marcus in the main living room, facing the front entrance. I told him we were expecting some important business associates and he needed to look presentable. At 1:58 p.m., the doorbell rang. Game time. But honey, nothing, and I mean nothing, could have prepared me for the beautiful chaos that was about to unfold. 3 women, each thinking they were about to get everything they ever wanted, were about to walk into the most humiliating experience of their lives. And Marcus? Marcus was about to learn what happens when you underestimate the woman who built your empire. The first to arrive was Simone. Honey walked through my front door like she was walking a runway, 5'9" of fake confidence in a dress that cost more than some people's rent. She was carrying a portfolio and wearing the diamond bracelet I'd seen in Marcus's credit card statements. Oh my God, she gasped, looking around our foyer. Marcus, baby, this place is even more incredible than you described. I stepped out from the shadows like the queen I was. Hello, Simone. Marcus is waiting for you in the living room. Right this way. The look on her face when she saw me was priceless. Confusion, fear, and dawning realization all mixed together. But before she could say anything, the doorbell rang again. Candy bounced in next, and yes, I mean bounced. 19 years old and dressed like she was going to a nightclub, not a business meeting. Short skirt, low-cut top, enough makeup to paint a small building. Daddy Marcus, she squealed, then stopped dead when she saw Simone. Who is she? Just another one of Marcus's business associates. Come along, dear. Everyone's gathering in the living room. Trinity arrived exactly at 2 p.m., punctual, professional, carrying an overnight bag just as requested. She was dressed conservatively, trying to look like the respectable woman she thought she was about to become. The moment she walked into the living room and saw the other 2 women, plus Marcus sitting there looking like a deer in headlights, the temperature in the room dropped about 20 degrees. What the hell is this? Trinity demanded. Ladies, I said, clapping my hands once to get their attention. Please have a seat. We have so much to discuss. I had positioned chairs in a semicircle facing Marcus, like a twisted therapy session. None of them wanted to sit, but I wasn't giving them a choice. Simone, darling, you're here for your modeling opportunity. Candy, sweetheart, you're here to discuss your future. Trinity, dear, you're here to talk about changes. Well, ladies, I'm here to give you exactly what you came for. I walked to the center of the room, standing between them and Marcus, and pulled out 3 phones, their phones, which I had quietly collected when they arrived, claiming it was for privacy and security. Now, before we begin, let's establish some ground rules. Rule number 1. No one leaves until I say so. Rule number 2. Everyone participates in our little educational session. Rule number 3. What happens in this room stays in this room. Understood? Candy was the first to crack. Mrs. Sterling, I think there's been some kind of mistake. Marcus invited you here, I interrupted, because I told him to. Using his email. From his accounts. With his passwords. The silence that followed was beautiful, honey. Absolutely beautiful. You see, ladies, my husband has been very busy. Busy making promises to all of you. Busy spending our money on all of you. Busy disrespecting our marriage with all of you. But here's what Marcus forgot to mention in all those emails. I built this empire. I run this business. And I don't share what's mine. I walked over to Marcus, who was sitting there looking like he'd seen a ghost. Darling, I said, loud enough for everyone to hear, would you like to tell your girlfriends why you can't keep your promises anymore? Would you like to explain why Daddy can't pay for college, why the modeling contracts don't exist, why there won't be any new Mrs. Sterling? Marcus opened his mouth, but no words came out. So I answered for him. Ladies, meet the real Marcus Sterling. The man who needs help getting to the bathroom. The man who wears adult diapers because he can't control his basic bodily functions. The man who is completely, utterly dependent on the wife he thought was too old and boring to notice his affairs. And then, honey, I brought out the big guns. Simone, sweetie, remember that photo shoot Marcus promised you? Well, we're going to have one right now. But instead of modeling clothes, you're going to model the consequences of sleeping with married men. Get on your knees and scrub that floor where my husband just spilled his medication. Candy, baby girl, you wanted Daddy to take care of you? Perfect. March upstairs and clean the bathroom where your sugar daddy has his accidents. Make it sparkle, sweetheart. And Trinity, my dear, you wanted to be the lady of this house? Congratulations. Your first duty as the woman in charge is to help Marcus with his diaper change. Right here, right now, in front of everyone. The chaos that erupted was everything I had dreamed of and more. Simone started crying. Candy started screaming. Trinity started cursing. And Marcus? Marcus just sat there, finally understanding that his queen had just delivered checkmate. But I wasn't done. Oh no, honey. I was just getting started. Because what happened next, what I made those 3 women do, what I forced my husband to witness, that was when Victoria Sterling truly became the queen of her own destiny. And honey, it was glorious. What followed was 2 hours of the most satisfying justice I've ever witnessed. Simone, the aspiring model, found herself on her hands and knees scrubbing floors while I critiqued her technique. Lower, darling. Really get into those corners. A real woman takes pride in maintaining her home. Candy, the sugar baby who thought money grew on trees, discovered what real work looked like as she cleaned every toilet, sink, and mirror in our 7 bathrooms. Every time she complained, I reminded her that this was what earning money actually meant. But Mrs. Sterling, she whined, Marcus promised he'd take care of me. And he is, sweetie. He's teaching you the value of honest work. Consider it a life lesson, tuition free. But Trinity, honey, Trinity got the special treatment. The woman who thought she could step into my shoes, take over my life, and become the new Mrs. Sterling got to experience exactly what being married to Marcus really meant. I made her change his diaper. I made her feed him his medication. I made her lift him from his wheelchair to his bed. All while Simone and Candy watched, all while Marcus sat there mortified, all while the cameras recorded every humiliating second. This is what you wanted, isn't it, Trinity? I asked sweetly. To be the woman taking care of Marcus Sterling? Well, congratulations. This is your dream job. The beautiful thing was watching their fantasies crumble in real time. These women had built entire futures around a man who couldn't even control his own bowels. They had invested their time, their emotions, their dignity in someone who is now completely helpless. And Marcus? Marcus was learning the most important lesson of his life. He was seeing himself through their eyes, not as the powerful, desirable man he thought he was, but as the weak, dependent person he had become. By 4 p.m., all 3 women were broken. Simone was crying into her cleaning supplies. Candy was having what I can only describe as an existential crisis in the bathroom. Trinity was staring at Marcus like she was seeing him for the first time. "Ladies," I announced, "I think we've all learned something valuable today. Simone, you've learned that real beauty comes from dignity and self-respect, not from chasing married men. Candy, you've discovered that security comes from your own efforts, not from sugar daddies. And Trinity, you've experienced exactly what being Mrs. Marcus Sterling actually involves." I handed them back their phones, walked to the front door, and opened it wide. "Your education is complete. Don't let me see any of you near my husband, my business, or my property ever again. And ladies, if you ever think about speaking publicly about today, remember that I have video footage of everything that just happened. Choose your next moves wisely." They left without another word. 3 women who had entered my home thinking they were about to get everything they wanted, slinking out like defeated soldiers. And Marcus? Marcus was about to have the most important conversation of our 35-year marriage. After the door closed behind the last of his mistresses, the mansion fell into a silence so complete you could hear our grandfather clock ticking from 3 rooms away. Marcus sat in his wheelchair, staring at the floor, looking smaller than I'd ever seen him. For the first time in months, we were truly alone. "Victoria," he whispered, and his voice was different. Broken. I never meant for." "Stop," I said, holding up my hand. "Don't you dare try to minimize this. Don't you dare try to explain it away. You called me old and boring to women young enough to be your daughters. You spent our money on their fantasies while dismissing my feelings as paranoia. You disrespected everything we built together." I walked over and knelt down in front of his wheelchair, looking him directly in the eyes. "Marcus Sterling, for 35 years, I stood beside you. I sacrificed my own dreams to build your empire. I supported your decisions, defended your reputation, and loved you with everything I had. And you repaid that loyalty by treating me like furniture in my own life. But today, you learned something important. You learned that I'm not just your business partner or your caregiver or the woman who manages your schedule. I'm the queen of this empire we built. And queens don't just rule, they protect what's theirs." Marcus looked up at me, and for the first time in years, I saw real recognition in his eyes. Not the casual dismissal, not the charming manipulation, but genuine understanding of who I was and what I was capable of. "Victoria," he said, his voice barely above a whisper, "I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I lost sight of everything. Of you, of us, of what we built together." I studied his face for a long moment. This man who had been my partner, my betrayer, my patient, and now my defeated opponent. The question that had been burning in my heart for months finally found its voice. "Marcus, I need you to understand something. What happened today wasn't just about revenge. It was about respect. It was about showing you, showing them, and showing myself that Victoria Sterling is not a woman to be underestimated, dismissed, or disrespected." I stood up and walked to the window overlooking our lake, the same view I'd had the morning I discovered his betrayal. For months, I've been asking myself what I wanted from this marriage, from this life we've built. Did I want to forgive you? Did I want to leave you? Did I want to punish you forever? I turned back to face him. Today gave me my answer. I don't want a husband who sees me as old and boring. I don't want a partner who lies to me and cheats on me. But I also don't want to destroy everything we built together out of spite. So here's what's going to happen, Marcus Sterling. You're going to recover from this illness. You're going to get back on your feet. And when you do, you're going to make a choice. I walked back over to him, my voice becoming stronger with each word. You can choose to be the man I married, honest, respectful, devoted to our partnership. You can choose to rebuild the trust you destroyed and prove that our 35 years meant something. You can choose to see me as the queen I've always been and treat me accordingly. Or you can choose to leave. Take half of what we built together and start over with whoever will have you. But Marcus, understand this clearly. You will never again disrespect me in my own life. You will never again dismiss my worth or question my value. And you will never, ever cheat on me again. Because today proved something important, darling. Today proved that I don't need you to survive. I don't need you to be successful. I don't need you to be complete. I want you in my life, but only if you deserve to be here. Marcus reached out and took my hand, and for the first time in years, his touch felt real. Victoria, I choose you. I choose us. I choose to earn back what I threw away. I choose to spend whatever time I have left proving that you are the most remarkable woman I've ever known. I looked down at our joined hands, hands that had signed contracts together, built an empire together, and now we're possibly rebuilding a marriage together. Then we start over, Marcus. New rules, new respect, new appreciation for what we have. But understand this. I am no longer the woman who will tolerate disrespect in silence. I am no longer the wife who will sacrifice her dignity for peace. I am Victoria Sterling, and I bow to no one. And that, my beautiful viewers, is how a queen reclaims her throne. 6 months later, Marcus made a full recovery. Not just physically, but emotionally. He kept his promise. Our marriage isn't perfect. No marriage is, but it's honest now. It's respectful. It's built on the foundation of two people who understand exactly who they're dealing with. Candy transferred to a college across the country and is apparently majoring in business. Hopefully she learns something about real success from our encounter. Simone gave up on modeling and became a nurse, which I think suits her much better. And Trinity? Trinity moved to another state and opened her own real estate agency. Good for her. But this story isn't really about them, is it? It's about what happens when a woman decides she's had enough. It's about the power we all have to change our circumstances, to demand respect, and to show the world exactly who we are. Some of you might think my revenge was too harsh. Some of you might think it wasn't harsh enough. But here's what I know for certain. Sometimes you have to be willing to play chess instead of checkers. Sometimes you have to be willing to be the queen instead of the pawn. And sometimes, honey, sometimes you have to be willing to serve that revenge colder than a penguin's lunch and twice as satisfying. If this story resonated with you, if you believe in women standing up for themselves, if you love seeing justice served with style and intelligence, then hit that subscribe button and that notification bell. Because Victoria Sterling has more stories to tell, more wisdom to share, and more queens to crown. Remember, darlings, in the game of life, you can choose to be a pawn, or you can choose to be the queen. But if you're going to be the queen, make sure everyone knows it. This has been Victoria Sterling, and this has been the Queen's Gambit. Until next time, keep your crown straight and your chess game strong.